The smartest character in the circus is Jex? Of course not, I scammed you! But don't close the video just yet, because now we'll figure out who in the circus is truly the smartest and most resourceful, and whose intellect, on the contrary, leaves much to be desired. In short, in this video, I ranked all the main characters of the circus from the dumbest to the smartest. And yeah, this is just my opinion, which you may disagree with, so write your own ranking in the comments and compare it with mine at the end of the video. Welcome to the Paradox Studio, and let's go. And the title of the dumbest character goes to Gangle. I can already see her fans writing the angry comments, but let me explain why I think so. First of all, Gangle is one of the most mentally unstable characters. She literally has only two states: extreme happiness and deep depression. And that's no surprise, since Gangle's main feature is her masks, which determine her emotions, and it just so happens that the comedy mask keeps breaking. However, regardless of which mask she's wearing, I just can't call Gangle smart. Let's start with the problems of the tragedy mask. When she's in her sad state, our heroine can't think rationally due to fear and shyness. Some might say that it's just her personality, but let's be honest, that doesn't make her any smarter. Even if Gangle comes up with a decent idea, she'll hardly be able to put it into action because she'll simply get scared and prefer to stay silent. But the comedy mask doesn't make things better either. Just recall one scene with cheerful Gangle to prove her recklessness. I'm talking about the moment from my favorite episode, Everyone Has Guns. When Gangle finally got her hands on the Thompson submachine gun, she started shooting randomly in all directions. She didn't care whether she hit anything or not. At that moment, she probably thought she looked cool, but in reality, nope. Let's just not tell her that, or she'll get sad again. Yeah, they even dedicated an entire episode to this character. During the adventure, she became the manager of a diner, and as you remember, she ruined everything, and no one listened to her. In general, Gangle's main weakness is definitely her personality. Maybe we'll see a better side of her in the future, but for now, I can't rank her higher than Zooble. Yeah, in that tone, because this girl is the most boring character in the series. Honestly, there's not much to say about her. She rarely takes an active part in adventures, so it's quite difficult to objectively evaluate her intelligence. But let me still try to explain why she holds her place in the ranking. The thing is, unlike the spineless Gangle, Zooble at least has enough strength to express her emotions and argue with others. And in those arguments, Zooble often makes pretty good points. However, even though I said she's quite different from Gangle, they still share some similarities. Zooble also has a rather weak personality, though it shows up differently than in Gangle's case. Zooble suffers from not being able to find her place, and her character design hints at this too. Zooble is entirely made up of various parts she found all around the circus. Most likely, even when she was alive in the real world, Zooble couldn't find her place in life, constantly changing her interests, and possibly even her appearance. But in the end, she never found her true self, and only grew to hate herself even more, as Ragatha herself admitted. In my opinion, Ragatha is mentally 2 heads above the girls who were mentioned earlier in the list, but she also has her own problems. Still, let's start with her positive qualities. Ragatha appears to be an absolute optimist. She tries to support almost everyone around her, saying things like, "Everything will get better soon, there's nothing to be afraid of," and so on. Ragatha is capable of rationally assessing a situation and understanding what decision would be the best at the moment. At first glance, she seems like a really good character, but her greatest strength also becomes her main weakness. The thing is, not everyone in the circus actually needs Ragatha's support, and sometimes her advice can seem completely unnecessary. And as soon as someone is rude to her or rejects her help, Ragatha breaks down. Her self-esteem instantly crumbles, and she starts believing that no one needs her. In that state, Ragatha becomes of little use. She starts getting confused in her reasoning, doubting herself, and feeling afraid. Overall, Ragatha has quite a lot of potential, but she's very sensitive, and her optimism may not appeal to every character. Next up is Jax. Even though he didn't turn out to be the smartest, as the preview suggested, in my opinion, 4th place is still pretty good. At first glance, Jax seems like the main jester of the circus, someone who couldn't possibly be intelligent. Well, he is quite the clown, but when it comes to intellect, and especially charisma, I wouldn't rush to conclusions. Jax constantly teases his fellow captives, and quite often, his jokes get him exactly what he wants. They hit the person they're aimed at right where it hurts. Moreover, our rabbit has a personal approach to every character in the circus. Of course, this isn't necessarily a positive trait, but it shows how well Jax understands the weaknesses of others. The bunny is also quite perceptive. Just recall one scene from episode 6. There he tried to convince Pomni to abandon her principles and join in on the fun, and in the end he succeeded, which helped their team make it to the finale. Jax also talked about certain roles that each circus inhabitant has, and suggested Pomni pick one for herself. Of course, Jax has his own weaknesses too. It's unclear why, but the purple one absolutely refuses to get close to anyone. Fans speculate that it's because of the previous circus residents, like Ribbit and Kaufmo. According to one theory, Jax used to be on good terms with them, and after they dissipated, he blamed himself for everything. Or maybe it was simply too painful for him to deal with losing his friends. Either way, this character's charisma managed to lift him quite high on this list, and I'm sure he still has more to show us in the future. The top 3 smartest characters are opened by the main heroine of the series, Pomni. Many might say she also has a weak personality, and ask how she's any better than Gangle. Well then, let's figure it out. Yes, at first Pomni was often insecure, easily frightened, and even fell into despair at times. However, as time went on, Pomni completely changed. Fear was replaced by hope, and now our little jester shares that hope with others, while not so long ago, it was the others who tried to comfort her. This storyline shows Pomni's ability to adapt. On one hand, that's not too surprising, since many characters helped her adjust. But think about it. While Pomni was adapting to the new conditions and finding an approach to each of her new friends, the rest of the circus characters either didn't change at all, or even got worse, like Jax or Ragatha, for example. I already mentioned Pomni's charisma, but I'll repeat it. She can support almost any character. There's probably also something special hidden within Pomni, since in the very first episode, she managed to see the exit. Though that's more of a topic for future speculation. Second place goes to Kinger. I've already made a video explaining why I consider this character to be very intelligent, so I won't go too deep into the details now, but I'll briefly go over the main points. You all remember the scene from episode 3, where Kinger inspired a desperate Pomni, who was on the verge of a breakdown. There was a similar scene with Ragatha. It was he who comforted her after losing an adventure, and generally improved her mental state. Isn't that a sign of intelligence? Kinger is the kind of hero who can solve almost any problem with words alone, knowing exactly how to approach each character. Add to that several years of computer science training and his vast experience in the circus, and we get a hidden genius whose knowledge could change the game if he uses it at the right moment. But then, why does he act crazy most of the time? According to my theory, he's afraid that someone might find out about his knowledge. But who could that someone be? Kane, the one who stands at the very top of today's list. His goofy behavior is deceiving. Kane is an excellent ruler who has kept all the power in his hands for an indefinite amount of time. Yes, characters dissipate. Yes, they don't like it here. But as far as we know, no one has ever managed to escape this place. So now we found out who the smartest character in the circus really is. As I said at the beginning of the video, let me know what your ranking looks like. Of course, I understand that with the release of future episodes, this list may change drastically, so be sure to check the release date of this video. If you want more videos about the circus, then leave a like and subscribe, because there will be plenty of interesting content here. And don't forget to write in the comments what other topics you'd like to see a video about. Good luck to everyone, and bye-bye.